Hello, everyone. It's Liz Quinn with Galileo. I have a special guest today. We have one of our, I call her a super beta parent, Mareile Paley, with us. She and her family joined Galileo quite a while ago. I mean, we're a new school, but pretty much close to the beginning. So welcome, Mareile. How are you?
Hi, I'm good. Thanks for having me.
Yeah, I've been wanting to have you do one of these webinars for a while because, you know, you're already kind of talking to families out there in your network about Galileo and how your boys use it and what you enjoy about it. So thank you for joining me. We're starting, as you know, a new kind of a program called Meet Our Parents. And we recently interviewed the Bitcoin family and Karen King, who's with Worldschooling Central. So we're happy to have you here. And I know that, you know, your family has this really interesting, fascinating lifestyle. We'd love to learn more about it. And tell me a little bit about your background and your husband and kids and, you know, what you guys were doing previously to before you joined Galileo.
Okay, so I guess I'll start with our nationalities. I'm from Germany and my husband is French, but we both met backpacking in Indonesia like 25 years ago. So that kind of set the tone for us being a very international couple at first, and then later family. So we've lived literally all over the world. We've lived in New York, in Pakistan, Tajikistan, Hong Kong 9 years, Turkey 7 years, and now we're in Portugal. And because of that, our first son, Iluka, he's 13 now, and he was born in Hong Kong. And then Timo was born in Istanbul. So yeah, there's a lot of languages spoken, and there's a lot of traveling in our life and a lot of different cultures. And so I guess back then I never considered myself a global citizen, but this is really now with the children getting older and us embracing that internationalism. I guess that's what we are, global citizens.
Mm-hmm.
So,
that's wonderful. Now, you're traveling for pleasure or for work? Because
work is pleasure, right? If you're lucky. No, so I started off as a graphic designer. Actually, I studied graphic design in New York, and Mathieu studied photography in New York. But then we both decided we had an opportunity to visit Pakistan, and that started kind of professional life and traveling at the same time. So for Mathieu as a photographer, it was kind of an obvious step. And for me as a graphic designer, I became a freelancer and I worked wherever I was with NGOs and so on. And then later, yeah, I guess I was always in the creative business, and then later became a Pilates teacher because that's an obvious connection from graphic design, right? and yeah, now I'm in Portugal, and I'm building a hotel. Actually, I'm building a retreat hotel that is specialized in Pilates. So I'm embarking into the entrepreneurial side, I guess. Mathieu is still a photographer, but he's made it now to National Geographic, so life is good, can't complain.
That's awesome. Good. Well, that's such a special way to live your life and have your boys, you know, be able to go along with you and learn about different cultures and world school. So you're kind of doing a mix of world schooling and being an expat and unschooling and all that stuff. So how is that working for you? How was it working before you started Galileo?
Yeah, I think the funny thing is that while our professional and private life, even when the kids came along, was always this rather unconventional and traveling and taking the children along and taking off for a couple of months and coming back, going on big, great adventures. When it came to school, there was never a doubt in our mind that the kids would just, you know, go to a regular school. And that's what they did for the early years, at least for the beginning.
What
They
country
went
were you living
to,
in when they went to school?
yeah, so they went in Turkey. When they started school, we lived in Turkey, and they went to a German international school there for a couple of years. And it was fine, and we never considered anything else. Also in Germany, homeschooling is illegal, so homeschooling was not at all on our radar of something that people do, or it's in Europe not so common, and for sure, you know, a couple of years ago, even less. And then we decided to take a year off. While we were living in Turkey, we decided to take a sabbatical, and took the kids out of school, or took Iluka out of school, because Timo was too young. He was just 4, and wanted to, well, so we thought, okay, I don't want Iluka to repeat the year. What do I do? And I started looking into homeschooling programs, and I found, funnily, there is a very nice German homeschooling program.
Wow.
Yeah, so it's illegal, but there's a system in place for people that cannot get their kids to school because they're expats for 6 months or a year and want to continue with their German program. So this was before any kind of online work. Also, we were going to Pakistan and India and China, so we didn't want to be reliant on the internet. So that was the package arrived for a year of, the subjects were German, math, and geography, I think.
Uh-huh.
And it was an almost 20-kilo package of
a whole bunch of books. Right.
Books, papers, pens, crafting material. I mean, super well organized, everything neatly packaged. So we tried to sift through that and pack that in our backpacking backpacks.
Oh my goodness. You must have weighed a ton. So how did that go?
Yeah, so that was my first experience with homeschooling. So there I was the teacher as the mom, and it went surprisingly well, as in I had a willing student that I have a good relationship with, so there was not much resistance or fight. But I realized this was grade 3, so Iluka was 9, and I realized on one hand, the patience you need to be a teacher, to go through the material, and but also I understood suddenly how my child works, like how his brain works, how he approaches a problem, a math problems, what scares him, what is easy for him. Because before in school, I guess I wasn't never really interested in a way. I wasn't the mom who would check on the homework or know exactly what they're gonna learn in the next lesson. I would just, my approach to school was always, well, that's what I send them to school for, right? That I don't have to do the school. And so therefore I put my trust into the institution and into the teachers that they will do their job, right? So I don't have to do that job and I can do my job. And as long as nobody complains and the grades are fine and the kid is happy, I'm happy with school and I don't need to interfere. Mm-hmm. So homeschooling Iluka for a year brought me a whole big respect for the profession of a teacher. Mm-hmm. So it was a very eye-opening experience. It was beautiful in a way, because I really felt we connected on so many levels, but it was also really, really exhausting. And like, it was fine when you're traveling because that was my job. I had put my other jobs on pause. We were going traveling and doing 1 to 2 hours of school, of lessons per day, made me feel good. It made me feel like, okay, we've kind of served our purpose. We've ticked the box of the things we have to do. The kids are fine. Now we can just explore the world. But then as soon as we came back from our trip, Iluka went back into the next grade of his own school, the same school. And in terms of academics, I mean, there was no question. He fit right in. He didn't miss anything. He was, if at all, a little bit ahead because he had gotten all this one-on-one attention, even though we didn't finish the whole program. But, you know, you concentrate more. You cannot hide in the back of the class and kind of get by. You're the only student in the class.
Fewer distractions sometimes.
Yeah.
So, okay, so why did you not continue with all of that?
it didn't even it didn't even cross my mind. It was so, the purpose of this was so obvious for the travel, because there was the need to somehow continue with the school. And plus they loved their school in Turkey, so they were happy to be back. We were happy to have the kids out of the way, do our job, and so on. And then when we moved from Turkey to Portugal, again, we had kind of two options. We thought either we let them finish the school year and then we move. So we move in at the end of June, and then we have 2.5 months until mid-September to move to a country we don't know, to find a perfect place to live, to start our businesses, to make sure that this is where we want to be, to find a school, all in the summer months where Portugal is full of tourists. And that just sounded not like a great idea. So we said, hey, why don't we take them out half year in February? And we realized our big dream of building a camper van, or outfitting a van, and we drive through Portugal for 6 months, and we really try to find our place in that new country and take our time. And hey, I could do another 6 months of homeschool. So this is now Iluka is in 5th grade. So this was 2 years later. So I'd had a 2-year break. And this time I did also the second half of 1st grade with Timo, who was 7 at the time. So then I was homeschooling 2 kids, again with the same program, again traveling, again being fine, no work on the side, living in a van. It was perfect. Again, that freedom and 1 to 2 hours of school. Iluka was doing all his work by himself. It was fantastic. I just had to look a little bit over his shoulder. Homeschooling my little one was a completely different story because he was more resistant. He has a strong character. So there, even though he didn't have a problem with me being the authority of a teacher, but just, sometimes he didn't want to do things and I wanted him to complete the lesson. So in that experience, I felt a little bit that struggle of being the teacher. And as the mom teacher, I guess you want to be the good student that completes all the lessons that are required of you. And that was more of a problem for me than, I could feel the struggle and also by the time we had this done, of course, our aim was again to find a school for them. Same story, homeschooling for permanent was still not at all, didn't occur in our thoughts. Mm-hmm. So found a school, put them to school, a private school, a nice and expensive expat, good Portuguese, British, international school uniform and all that we're not used to at all as Germans and French. And they fitted right in, and they learned Portuguese and they adapted, and there was a bit of, that Portuguese elite, the elite people, the local elite people that send their kids to. But I always felt like, hey, this is all great for their learning of different cultures and how to understand how they fit in as these kind of exotic international kids. So again, they went to that school for a year and it was good. And we had them out of the house for 8 hours and we were doing our work. So far so good.
So then what happened?
And then something happened. And I guess that's kind of the unusual story of us becoming full-time homeschoolers, because we were really not looking for it. It came to us. We had no reason. We had no, ADHD kid or dyslexic or social problems or too intelligent or a gifted child. Nothing. Everything was fine. But I guess what happened was Portugal is a country which is fairly cheap to live in, and then spending money as freelancers on a quite expensive international school is always a bit of a thorn, and a bit, so you question the whole, like, what are we actually paying for? At the same time, sending them to a Portuguese local school also wasn't really what we felt, we've heard, I don't know, it also didn't feel so right. So I guess it started with the money, or with my tears saying, like, what are we spending all this money on? And, every school trip, every book, every uniform, it costs and costs and costs. And so it started almost like a joke that Matthew would say, don't you want to homeschool again? We could save so much money. And I would be like, no, I don't want to homeschool again. Not at all. Life is fine. But then we had friends also that were looking for an alternative school for their son. He's younger. And suddenly, I guess in our surroundings, this topic started to come up. And so I tell this story every time, but I'll tell it again. So I started to look a little bit on the internet into homeschooling, unschooling, and all this, but not quite really serious yet. And one day I came across a photo, I think it was on Facebook. That was basically a picture of a garlic clove, close up, just a beautiful picture of a garlic clove. And one of the cloves was taken out, and there was a piece of tangerine stuck in there. And the text said, just because you fit in doesn't mean you found the right place. And I was like, oh my God, that's my kids in their school, that's us in our life. And I think with that came a realization of our being so attached to a traditional school system doesn't work at all with our otherwise so carefree, out of the box and adventurous lifestyle. And I think there was a spark there that said, hey, why do we want so hard to teach our kids the alternative, the open lifestyle, the freedom, you can do different, you don't need to fit into any box. But we find that box of school very important, and actually we don't. It's just we hadn't thought about that it could be different. So we started talking and thinking, and there was a lot of gulping and swallowing, and we started to make our list of all the ifs and buts, and already us being freelancers, already us having this free lifestyle, already us having had experience with homeschooling, our kids speaking so many languages. There was a lot of pros, and there was just not a lot of but ifs. There was, we literally could not find the negative reasons that would go against taking them out of school. Other than, so the last point that stuck was, yeah, but that means the kids are home all the time. And that just felt like the worst reason as a parent to realize. And it got me.
You're busy and you're working, so you need alone time to work too.
Yes, and that's kind of that mindset that we had, especially living in places like Hong Kong, where you live such an expat life. Even though you're a freelancer, you have, the nanny for the kid. But it got me thinking, and I suddenly felt like, what kind of world do we actually live in, where the worlds of the children and the adults have become so separated that almost you don't even question that. It's like the kids go to school, the adults go to work. But yet here we are, our own best example of parents that work in jobs where it's actually quite possible to accommodate our children in that life. On top of it, they're not toddlers anymore. They're 8 and 12. They can very well be responsible and do their own thing. It just will need a little bit of teaching them their own responsibilities. And so it was all these thoughts that suddenly got me excited, and it just felt really right to do this. It was like, wow, actually, if there's anybody who can do this easily, it's us. And so with this came almost like a mission, a realization of something bigger. Then I started to think a lot about the future and where the world is going and where our children, what kind of jobs will they have, on top of it with parents that already lead them kind of the way of being either artistic or, you know, we never put them in a structure of you need to be academic. So yeah, let's prepare them for that. Let's embrace that. And yeah, it became kind of
next. And how did you find Galileo?
Yeah, so then Galileo, I guess, was my next blessing that fell from the sky that made it all perfect. So we had decided to take the boys out of school, and we had decided to neither do unschooling, because unschooling seemed a little bit too radical for us and also our families and our background, but also not follow a curriculum, because I said I don't want to be the teacher. I was strict on that, and mostly I don't want to take them out of one system to then decide on another system that then I'm responsible for teaching them. So neither unschooling nor, you know, classical homeschooling. And I started to read about self-directed education, self-directed learning, and that just made so much sense to me, and also for our children. So I guess I was starting to look into that, and I was ready to go free flow, kind of eclectic, put a schedule together, but all based on kids need to be able to work by themselves for several hours a day while we sit in the same house and also work for ourselves. How can we make this work? And then I found Galileo right in the beginning of that decision. I found the book club, actually.
And just from Googling, right? You just found us online somehow.
Yeah, I think via I was looking for homeschooling summits and gatherings and kind of trying to find community in Europe. And I guess through that, and what attracted me to the book club, and it's so funny now, now that Zoom has become that like most normal thing in the world, that was what attracted me the most. When I saw that there's several kids that are talking live to each other with a teacher, I knew that this would be great for Iluka, because he's not a big reader, but he's very social and he loves to talk to other kids. So I thought, oh, maybe that would be a good idea to connect him also, like the global aspect, to connect him with other kids and force him to read a book. And that's exactly what happened. I was like, hey, do you want to try this book club? There's kids all together. And yeah, it totally worked. Great trick. Iluka is reading books now every month.
That's amazing. Okay, so you started when we just had the book club. We were basically, that was our first project, and we were in beta. And so that went well. And then obviously Galileo, we kind of kept evolving and adding more things. And now we have a whole bunch of clubs and nano degrees. So it's been how many months now? Maybe 8, 9 or so, or maybe longer?
Yeah, it's coming. Yeah, I think we started in August, September, something.
Okay.
Yeah.
And so how has it been going so far?
Yeah, I feel like, you know, I read somewhere, now that I'm getting more into business, I read somewhere that every startup company needs 1,000 super fans to be successful. So I'm definitely a super fan. I'll buy any product of you. Mostly because I feel there's such a synergy. Galileo is doing exactly what I would do if I would run a company like that. And at the same time, I felt I always had a lot of, I'm a person of ideas and of feedback and of interaction and communication. And that was really easy with Galileo and with you guys, with Vlad, from the beginning on, to have these personal conversations, the feeling that you really care what we want, you really care about our children. And even as so every step along the way, from Iluka joining the first class to then Timo was too young, and then he got, you know, he was 7, and then he became 8, and then it was just about right, and he was shy and there was so much support, and he was alone in the class first, and then finding classmates for him. And then I feel there's so much growth that we have experienced with Galileo, and so the children also feel really connected to it. Nevertheless, so because we have, I think there's quite a bunch of students now from Portugal, also because I was ringing the bell a lot and I wanted, playmates for my kids that we can actually see in person.
We get that question a lot. People just think, oh, I don't want my kids just to be online and not really meet other people in real life. But you have arranged several, meetups, right?
Yeah, I think that's really important for us to have real people around us at the same time, because we live so globally. We have so many global connections and friends already, and so do our children. So it's almost like before Galileo, we were already used to that lifestyle of knowing people that you cannot see every day, but once in a while you might meet them. Mm-hmm. And for some reason it happened really organically and early on with Galileo. I think before we even joined, or they had just joined the book club, we were in France and we had a possibility to we were 3 hours away from Daniel Price and his family. So we're like, hey, we're also with this book club. And so the kids met, Vlad came to Portugal, and some of Iluka's classmates we see on a regular basis, even though they do live an hour and a half away. So we do stuff together, like camping or on weekends, but the kids see each other every day in class. Mm-hmm. And at the end of the day, it's actually very similar than real school, because often the kids that are in school all day long, they also can't see each other every day after school, because there's homework and there's life, and they come home late, so they only see their friends outside of school once a week or once a month, depending on how close they are. So yeah, it feels like I was always saying the ideal school would provide that social context of having a class, of having friends, of finding out these social interactions, but with less enforced academia. Mm-hmm. And Galileo is providing that for our boys 100%. Yeah.
Amazing. So what are your boys involved in as far as clubs and the nanodegrees and whatnot? What do they like to do?
So Iluka does, he's 13 now, so he does a lot. He has his check-ins, and he has his book club, and he's done all the nano degrees. So far, at least he's following. Some he's more interested, some he's less interested. Right now they're doing the business development course, and slowly he's getting excited, and he's collaborating actually with his friend in Portugal. So they're developing a business idea, which is really cool. And Timo has been doing mostly just the check-ins. Mm-hmm. He's going to be 9. He's a slow reader and an even slower writer. So there's a lot of stuff that he's not too keen on doing. The nano degrees, he's felt mostly it's too many kids in the class, too much talking, it's too much, a little bit too advanced in terms of, because the nano degrees, they're like a mini university lecture made for kids. So it's super cool. But for my 9-year-old that loves to fish and play outdoors, too much computer time. So he's been kind of shying off all the clubs. Mm-hmm. However, he just discovered the science club. And he loves it. And I was so hoping to find him a club that he likes. And I was like, I really think you'll like the science club. So now he's very excited. He's like, Mom, it was great. It was so exciting. We were doing things with a straw and with water, and
they actually like these cool experiments at home. Yeah. But one of my daughters really likes it too.
So and what this, especially with Iluka, is easy. He does his thing. He's starting to be very active now with some other kids to do like student-led clubs. They started a music club, playing each other guitar, and they have this quarantine club. So Iluka is a Zoom boy. He can socialize, he's loud, he's screaming, I have to come in and be like, Iluka. He gets very excited. Timo is more like a doer, and if he's not, if somebody doesn't grab his attention verges off. So I've had 2 really wonderful experiences with Galileo actually recently that I would love to share. So I said we're not doing unschooling, so we want to provide a certain amount of at least directing in the right direction, not choosing a program, but saying, okay, you have to do some sort of math. So with Timo, we saw that the math wasn't happening. All the online programs were either too childish or not gripping enough, or not too much Khan Academy, too much listening at videos, not interactive enough. So math was really just not happening. So I found myself on OutSchool, trying to look for a introduction to math, something live, Zoom-ish. And then I thought, hey, wait a minute, let me ask Vlad first. And I told him about my problem. And because I realized, Timo, when there's too many kids, and he's not being spoken to directly, he doesn't do it. It's not going in, it doesn't excite him. So so we did an experiment, or I got an offer from Sammy, who is the math teacher and leads the math club, to do one-on-ones with Timo once a week, just to kind of, with the goal to get him to a level where he feels comfortable in math, enough in basic math to maybe enjoy the math club. So that's what I like. It's not just, okay, we're going to do one-on-one tutoring for your child. It's like, yes, we do this for you, but eventually we have the goal of integrating him into a club, because that makes sense for the business or for the school side of things. We cannot have all the teachers teach every kid one-on-one. But the fact that you guys were open for this experiment right away, like no doubt, no hesitation, from Vlad, from Sammy, everybody's like, yeah, let's try it. And it's been awesome. Timo loves his session with Sammy. Awesome. And it's great. So I feel like no matter where your child comes from, no matter what learning, how much learning or direction they need, you are making sure that Galileo makes sure that this can be served somehow, at least, for a while, to try out and then find a solution that makes it more long-term. And in that, I have a lot of confidence in Galileo as a company and as a school for the future, that they're not just there. I don't feel that Galileo just works for me and for us right now at this point. I really feel that, and strongly, that I think my kids will grow with that school until they're ready to say, okay, we don't need that anymore. We're going out now. Right. To work.
Because we are building Galileo for families like you and your sons, and my kids and all the other kids and families that are involved. Because we had this idea, but we kind of needed, I don't want to say guinea pigs to try it on, but we needed real families to say, okay, we have this great idea, try it out with us. It's an experiment. We're in beta. And we would try these things, and most of them have been working out. Not everything works out, but this is what we love, families like you who are willing to take a risk, to put your trust in us of your kids and their education. And, knock on wood, it's been working great. So we want to thank families like you for taking the chance and helping us build it. You guys give us so many ideas. We have so many parents that communicate with us on a regular basis. We have regular parent meetups. And you know, you guys, a lot of them have been homeschooling for a while, and they could do it themselves. You know, they could be like DIY, but you join us because you want more for your kids. You want more resources. You want more community. And then, you know, we as a group basically are building it. So I appreciate, you know, you letting us know we have this problem. Timo doesn't like math. What can we do?
Yeah.
Because Timo's not going to be the only kid who has a problem with math, you know, so we need to solve that problem with the math anxiety.
Yeah. No, and I think overall what is one of the strong points in Galileo is that I know, well, it's this umbrella. So even if I down the line in our own homeschooling situation, living situation, travel, whatnot, things change. If suddenly Iluka decides he wants to be really academic and he wants to do this online course, I know that I don't have to take him out somewhere or wonder whether he should switch to another school or another system. I feel like underneath that Galileo umbrella, they can do whatever unschooling, eclectic homeschooling, self-directed learning, playing, doing everything or doing nothing. Mm-hmm. And it's gonna be supported by the community. It really feels like a family of global kids, which is so important. I really think you're setting the base of communication for the future, because what we are doing now one-on-one and what our kids do in a group every day is having these Zoom conversations. There was a reason why this started before COVID-19, and it's going to continue past COVID-19, because this is going to bridge the distances. Mm-hmm. So whether they're now 13 and they're playing music together or playing a Minecraft game together, or I can completely see that transferring into them being young adults, young entrepreneurs that have no reservations to say like, oh, I have this classmate in Singapore. I think he's working now for this coding company. Let me Zoom up Tom and ask him about my idea. Or so, this I strongly believe in, and I think we're teaching them to feel very, very comfortable in that kind of world, which is going to be the world of communication in the future more and more.
Yeah, and also the networking, like you said, because some people say, oh, my kids have to go to Stanford, not just because of the great education there, but to make the connections. And I think in the future with Galileo, we're going to be kind of like a younger version of it. And our students are going to know other students around the world who are, you know, doing really cool things. And so that will benefit them long term, not just until they're 18 or whenever they graduate.
Yeah, because I think as a person, I've always had an issue with too much choice. So, and I feel this now with the online education options becoming so overwhelming. I mean, it's great, it's fantastic, but how to pick and choose, how to decide, and as a parent to spend time really understanding, and I'm so glad I have Galileo, because I feel like there's a body, an institution or a school that I trust. And if they say, try out this, I will trust them. And I save so much time by not having to doubt whether this is the right system.
Have you seen the new Trello board that we did?
Yeah. I showed it to Iluka. Yes, I showed it to Iluka and he asked me for it today, actually. It's like, you showed me this thing, where is it? Yeah, I think
Can I share my screen real quick to show everyone? Sure. Because I was blown away. We have this big Trello board and, you know, it just goes on and on and on by topic of all the online platforms and applications for various topics that our teachers have curated. I mean, they are familiar with all of these. There's hundreds and hundreds of things on it. And our students have tried some of them. So it's not, because you see like tons of lists of, oh, try this out, try this class or whatever. But this is in a nice little organized way. And, you can just look up as a parent, or, the teachers help the kids figure this out too. But there's so many nice things. You click on it and there's information about it and kind of like reviews, and the students can make comments on it. I mean, it just goes on and on. So this saves me as a parent so much time to not have to dig up and figure out, oh, my kid's into XYZ and what's the best platform for it.
Yes, exactly. And at the same time, we kind of, as self-directed learners or self-directed learning facilitators, we do want them to find these apps they're using themselves, ideally through their pals. But then there's this reservation of like, is it a good one? Is it, high level enough? So yeah, again, I feel like there's somebody that helps me curate, but I don't need to look at everything. I can just dump that list to my kids and be like, well, you sort it out. And then, because they go through phases of interest, every couple of months, one online app that worked wonderfully for 3 months is suddenly either they've worked it out through or their interest has changed. So it's a never-ending process of finding new online learning resources. And actually, I don't want to do it. There's too many out there. I want my kids to choose intelligently by themselves the right ones for themselves.
Right. Awesome. Mareile, we can be talking for hours and hours on this. I love talking to you. And I appreciate when you join the Zoom meetings for the Homeschooling Global Society. And then you have launched your own Facebook group. Can you tell us a little bit about that? It's the Introduction to Homeschooling.
Yeah, the Facebook group is Introduction to Homeschooling. And I started it initially to help out all these accidental homeschoolers during the COVID-19 that were suddenly thrown into it. And now, as we're slowly coming out of it and people are going back to school, I would say the gist of the group is changing a little bit. It's refocusing more now, not just in how to bridge over, but into, okay, so you really want to homeschool, you want to get started, you're on that step. We also have a weekly meeting, and it's the majority of people that are still active in the group are the ones that have experienced homeschooling now and are like, wow, this is cool, what do I do next? So it's an introduction group.
Okay.
Yeah.
So initially they joined your group just because of the crisis, and now they're deciding they want to stick with it.
Yeah.
That's amazing. Wonderful. Well, thank you, Mareile. It's been so great to chat with you and learn more about your family and your journey and, how Galileo is working out for you. Like I said, you're one of our super beta moms and we so appreciate you, finding us and joining us and helping us build the best online self-directed school in the world. So we so appreciate you.
Yeah, thank you, Liz. I'm always super happy with Galileo. And mostly I'm happy if I don't have to worry about whether it's the right thing.
Yeah.
I think that's the peace of mind that every homeschooling parent knows they need the most,
right.
Of getting a feeling of whatever direction I've now chosen is the right direction. And that's the feeling I have with Galileo.
Exactly.
So thank you.
Yeah, well, thank you for sharing your story and spreading the word to your friends and family, because we feel that that's the best way for us to grow, is for families like you to kind of do word of mouth and help us find like-minded families that appreciate self-directed learning, but with a little bit of a structure and a beautiful community. So I appreciate that. And if anyone watching wants more information, we have a Q&A that you can sign up for, another webinar where you kind of learn more about the details of how Galileo works and how to onboard. And then we have an application page on our website that you can just fill out and send it to us, and then we can start the process. So I appreciate everyone. Let us know if you have any questions, reach out. We're available on our website via chat. You can also email me at lizz@galileoxp.com. So thank you, Mareile. We'll talk to you again soon.
Thank you.